Have you ever stared at a crazy, complicated math problem and felt less like you were solving some natural mystery and more like you were just assembling a massive puzzle that someone else completely made up? It's a profound feeling, right? And honestly, it brings us right to the foundational, almost existential question we're tackling today in this explainer. We're getting to the very nature of reality itself. We're going to explore whether the ultimate operating system of the universe is something we just magically found or something we actually built from scratch. So, did we discover math or did we invent it? Now, I know that might sound like one of those dusty academic debates meant only for late-night philosophy classrooms, but I promise you it is absolutely not. The answer to this changes literally everything. We are talking about a total paradigm-shifting mystery about the universe's fundamental operating system. Think about it. Is math this hidden treasure, a universal law that just hums along whether we're here to see it or not? Or is it simply a brilliantly clever language that human beings built entirely from the ground up? Okay, let's really dive into this because this massive debate essentially splits into two distinct philosophical camps. On one side, we've got Team Discovery. They view math as this objective, universal truth, something completely independent of human existence. Like, it's just out there. On the flip side, we have Team Invention, and they argue that math is strictly a human-made tool. It's a wildly powerful language we've just been aggressively tweaking for centuries. Today, we're going to deeply explore that second camp, the fascinating case for mathematics as a pure human invention, and we're going to see exactly where that radical line of thinking takes us. But first, let's take a quick moment and think about that first camp, because for most of us, Team Discovery just kind of makes intuitive sense, right? I mean, think of math like a perfect pre-existing sculpture hidden perfectly inside a giant block of rock. The whole idea is that things like the infinite, irrational digits of pi, or the unyielding, strict geometry of a right-angled triangle, well, they were always inherently true. They were literally just sitting there in the cosmic background, waiting patiently for humans to come along, chip away the surrounding stone, and unearth them. It is such a stunning, deeply appealing fantasy about how neat, tidy, and mathematically perfect our universe really is. But hold on a second. What if we actually start to scrutinize that flawless block of stone? Because if math were a perfect cosmic truth, it should be, well, perfect. But here's the secret. It's not. When you really dig deep, you start seeing messy human fingerprints all over the place. Mathematical definitions aren't these absolute things handed down from the cosmos. They rely completely on our subjective, human perception of reality. And then you start finding these weird, quirky artifacts that just do not show up anywhere in the physical world. Take the concept of infinity, for example. Did you know it's not just one thing? Mathematicians actively debate the strange existence of countable infinity, which is like counting 1, 2, 3 forever. And then there's the even more head-scratching concept of uncountable infinity, which is like the infinite string of decimals trapped just between the numbers 1 and 2. It's wild. It's like someone just pulled the rug right out from under us. These don't feel like the features of a pristine universal law. No, they feel way more like the messy quirks of a complex system designed by people.
Now, what's really interesting about this constructivist perspective is what happens when we completely flip our viewpoint. Forget the passive act of discovering a hidden sculpture. Actually, scratch that. It's more like the active, intentional process of building a grand cathedral of ideas, right? A cathedral doesn't just pop into existence fully formed. First, brilliant thinkers have to boldly imagine the concepts and draw up the blueprints. Then, they literally have to haul the abstract stones, the heavy, super complicated theorems and formulas, and they do it through painful trial and error, a bunch of dead ends, and serious frustration. Finally, it's constructed generation by generation, constantly building upon the work of those who came before. The whole argument here is that this magnificent structure of mathematics isn't built on the physical world at all. It's built purely inside our collective human minds as an awe-inspiring, massive collaborative construction.
And honestly, history shows us exactly why we built it in the first place. This cathedral definitely wasn't handed down to us from a mathematical Mount Olympus through some divine revelation. It evolved strictly out of a practical, everyday need to solve actual human problems. I mean, the ancient Egyptians didn't develop geometry just for the fun of it. Every single year, the Nile River would flood, violently washing away all their property boundaries. So they explicitly invented geometric formulas to rapidly survey and reclaim their land. Centuries later, calculus wasn't just found sitting under a rock. It was developed specifically to understand complex motion and change in the physical world. And by the 20th century, that evolving, entirely human toolbox of mathematical consensus was exactly what we needed to do the absolute impossible and literally put a person on the moon. So, if math is basically a tool we use to describe the world, we have to make a super vital distinction. Think about the map versus the territory. A map is an incredibly useful, completely human-made tool for navigating a bustling, confusing city. But nobody in their right mind mistakes the paper map for the concrete city itself, right? That would be crazy. Well, the exact same logic applies to our math. Our brilliant equations and perfectly balanced symbols are merely the map representing reality. They are a painstakingly designed language just to help us navigate complexity. And for me, that thoroughly breaks the illusion that math is the actual fabric of the universe itself. And to really drive home just how deeply human this map is, let's think about a single, incredibly common number, the number 0. You might naturally think 0 is as fundamental as it gets, right? Just an absolute basic fact of life. But the concept wasn't just found floating out there in space. Early civilizations actually actively fought against it. For a long, long time, the idea of representing literal nothing with a symbol made absolutely no sense to people. The number 0 had to be fiercely debated, heavily challenged, and only eventually agreed upon by communities of people over centuries. Imagine a world where 0 just wasn't even a thing. It totally proves that even the most basic foundational concepts of math aren't just sitting there waiting to be found. They are built step by step through messy human collaboration and ongoing conversation. So, what does this all mean for our understanding of reality itself? When we compare our mathematical models, which is the map, with reality, the territory, we see that math has incredibly high descriptive power. It can perfectly describe exactly how an apple falls from a tree, predicting its speed and trajectory pretty much flawlessly. But here's the catch. It completely lacks true explanatory power. The numbers themselves do not physically cause the apple to fall. Math is just a subjective, human-made lens we happen to look through. Reality is the actual underlying physical machinery. The universe was humming along perfectly, dropping apples and spinning entire galaxies for billions of years before we ever invented a thing called calculus. It frankly doesn't need our math to just keep doing its thing. So, the crucial question becomes, how much of it did we really make up? Well, history actually offers us a really fascinating middle ground. The 19th century mathematician Leopold Kronecker famously stated, "God made the integers, all the rest is the work of man." Kronecker was essentially saying that, hey, maybe basic counting, 1, 2, 3, is a fundamental, undeniable truth of the universe. But all the complex, beautifully structured algebra, trigonometry, and calculus built on top of it, that's all an intricate human invention. This was a massive historical stepping stone, really showing how thinkers began actively chipping away at that grand myth of discovery and finally accepting our role as creators. But the perspective we're exploring today takes Kronecker's nice, comfortable little compromise right off the table. It leaves us with this stark, radical counterpoint. God and numbers have absolutely nothing to do with each other. All symbols are the work of man, period. It's the bold, ultimate conclusion that the entire system, from the remarkably simple act of counting 1 plus 1 all the way to the most mind-bending quantum physics equations imaginable, is entirely our creation. We invented every single piece of the whole shebang from scratch simply to make sense of our chaotic, beautiful world. And honestly, that leads us to a fascinating, almost unsettling final thought. If mathematics isn't the fundamental fabric of reality, but merely a language we invented to describe it, well, every single language has its limits, doesn't it? There are always complex emotions or strange ideas a language simply cannot express. So it leads us with a lingering, profound question. What truths about our universe are we completely blind to? What magnificent secrets are sitting right in front of us? And what questions can we not even begin to ask simply because we haven't invented the right words or the right math yet? It's a spectacular universe out there, just waiting for us to build the next tools to understand it. Keep questioning, and thank you so much for exploring these massive ideas with me today.